Uber and Lyft drivers are switching to EVs as the price of gas continues to rise. Yahoo Finance's Dan Howley here with the details. Dan, this kind of feels like, what we're seeing in the rest of the market with more and more drivers more and more drivers going to buy EVs. Now we're seeing it in the ride-sharing space as well. I mean, how big of a shift are we talking about?
Yeah, we're talking about, upwards of more than 100% shift, over to EVs, at least with people renting EVs. We're seeing both Lyft and Uber drivers. Uber has a deal with Hertz where they can provide Uber drivers with some Teslas or some EVs for a set price. And some drivers are finding out, despite that being in the hundreds of dollars range for that kind of rental, it's still beating out the cost that it requires them to fill up at the pump. And, that just speaks to the fact that, obviously gas prices are incredibly high right now, despite coming back ever so slightly. Depending on where you are in the country, it really can just be too much for the average driver. And taking that leap to go and rent a Tesla or go and purchase an EV is really the only solution for a number of these drivers. And so, it's not just the rentals, though, and it's not just the fact that Teslas are, yes, there's the Model 3 that's supposed to be for everybody, still rather expensive, though. There's also the fact that the prices for EVs at dealerships, at least outside of Tesla, are rising or higher than MSRP. So, they're still going forward with these moves just to ensure that they're able to at least put more money on the table than they would if they were having to dig deeper into their pockets to pay for gas. Just anecdotally, I mean, I've seen far more Teslas being driven here in Queens for Uber or Lyft than I have ever before. Usually what you see is basically the go-to car is a Toyota Camry. I mean, every time you call a Lyft or an Uber, it's going to be a Toyota Camry. I think, 9 times out of 10, maybe not, that often, but and now it's becoming more and more likely that you may see an EV. So we'll likely see that trend continue for some time. But, as we start to see or continue to see the prices for those kind of rise as a result of the problems that we've seen in supply chain with vehicles getting to shores, there's got to be a point where Tesla drivers or Uber and Lyft drivers rather kind of hit a wall and say, the price is too much for gas. The price is too much for an EV. Where am I supposed to go now?
Dan, I guess as a follow-up here, are there incentives? Because I would imagine that, maybe Uber and Lyft would want people to be taking EVs when they do ride. Of course, they don't always have a choice in what vehicle they ride in. It's the closest available. But is Uber and Lyft offering details on this? Are they trying to push drivers to go greener? Because regardless of the gas price, I mean, there's an environmental aspect to this as well.
Yeah, Uber can offer drivers $1 more for each ride when they use an EV. Both of these companies are trying to make sure that their entire fleets of vehicles are electric in the coming decade. And, that seems to be a tall order. As I said, 9 times out of 10, you would see a Toyota Camry roll up or, maybe a Honda CRV, something like that. The vast majority of them are still gas-powered vehicles. So, the fact that they're incentivizing drivers with, $1 per ride, that doesn't really seem to me to be the kind of thing that they would want, at least that would get people to move over to EVs. I think really the thing that's doing it now, obviously, is the gas prices. Those may come down, though. That's the ideal, right, that they come back down and gas becomes somewhat more affordable. At what point, then, do the drivers say, well, I guess I don't need that EV? The other thing to point out, though, is that recharging EVs keeps drivers off the road, sometimes upwards of, 45 minutes to an hour while they recharge if they can find a charging station that's convenient for them. With a gas-powered vehicle, they just roll up, fill up. 5 minutes later, they're out back on the road getting customers. So, it's this kind of cost-benefit analysis that these drivers are having to deal with now.